The sun had nearly disappeared behind the western ridge, casting a reddish haze over Route 59, the long, desolate highway that cut through the heart of barren countryside. Andrew Carver sat behind the wheel of his aging sedan, knuckles white against the steering wheel, trying to stay awake. He'd been driving for nearly 10 hours, his eyes bloodshot and stinging. The endless line of telephone poles flickered past his windows like ticking seconds on a death clock. The highway was nearly empty. Just him. No signs of civilization, no gas stations, no headlights. Just desert scrub, darkening sky, and the faint thrum of his engine beneath him. That's when he saw it. A figure, just standing there, miles from anything, on the edge of the shoulder, as if waiting. The man was tall, rail-thin, and wore a long, dark coat that flapped in the wind. His face was obscured by shadow, even though the last hints of sunlight should have revealed it. He stood with an unnatural stillness, and just as Andrew passed him, the man's head turned and followed the car. Andrew's stomach dropped. It wasn't just the way the figure stared. It was the sudden, overwhelming sensation of familiarity. Something primal clawed at his brain. He didn't just see a man. He saw something that knew him. He hadn't been able to see a face, but somehow, the man looked like he was smiling. 30 more miles passed. The stars now blazed above, casting a faint silver glow across the highway. Andrew tried to shake off the unease. Just a guy, he told himself. Some drifter, some hiker. Maybe lost, maybe crazy. But then came the second sighting. Another curve in the road, another mile marker, another stretch of empty. And there he was again, the same man, standing off the road to the right, not walking, not hitchhiking, just standing. No lights, no movement, just cold silence. Andrew felt his blood turn to ice. He'd driven at least 30 miles since the first sighting. There was no way the man could have beaten him here, not on foot, not unless he flew. The man turned his head again, followed the car again. Andrew pressed harder on the accelerator. The next gas station appeared as a flickering beacon in the night. He skidded into the lot, tires crunching over gravel. The lights overhead buzzed weakly. Everything felt wrong. The place looked abandoned, though the neon open sign blinked with a dying pulse. Andrew stepped out to stretch his legs. The desert wind howled softly. Somewhere in the shadows, a coyote yelped. Then, footsteps behind him. Slow, deliberate, heavy. Andrew spun around. Nothing. But then, painted crudely across the side of the gas station wall, were 3 fresh words in black spray paint. "I know you, Andrew." He hadn't told anyone where he was going. No one should have known his name. He didn't see the man, but he felt him. Watching. Always watching. Back on the road, Andrew's hands trembled. He flipped on the radio to drown out the rising panic. The station was static, then silence, then suddenly, a voice. Not music, not a DJ, just a man's voice, whispering, repeating his name. "Andrew! Andrew!" It didn't stop. The signal didn't change. It wasn't any known station. Just that voice. Not frantic, not angry. Calm. Intimate. Like a lullaby sung by something monstrous. He smashed the power button. Silence. But only for a moment. In the side mirror. The man again. This time standing in the middle of the road, farther behind. Grinning. Arms open wide, as if waiting to embrace him. The trees thickened on either side of the highway. The desert gave way to dense pine forest. Shadows moved between the trunks. Shapes Andrew couldn't explain. He passed another sign. It should have read a town name or mileage, but it didn't. Instead, it said, "There is no escape." The letters were wrong. Twisted. Painted over the actual sign. Graffiti, maybe, but the paint was still dripping. Andrew's phone showed no service. He hadn't seen another car in hours. The road bent into the mountains now, steep and narrow. The guardrails were rusted and warped, and the cliff beyond them fell into blackness. He tried to remember why he took this route. The GPS had rerouted him earlier, something about traffic, but now it didn't feel like a reroute. It felt like a trap. Another glance in the mirror. No one. Then he looked forward, and the man was in the middle of the road. He slammed the brakes. Too late. But there was no impact. Nothing. He stepped out, heart thundering. The road was empty. Just the whisper of wind, the creak of branches, and the stench of rot in the air. Then, new graffiti. This time across the pavement, written in thick red strokes, "I walk behind you." He found shelter eventually. A broken-down motel glowing faintly in the fog. The sign outside blinked. Rooms available. He shouldn't have checked in, but exhaustion was louder than fear. Room 9. Rusted key, dim bulbs swinging on the ceiling. The whole place reeked of mildew and secrets. The bathroom mirror was cracked. Across the shattered glass, words had been smeared in something dark. "I see you when you sleep." Andrew didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he dreamed of the man on the highway, sometimes distant, sometimes standing over him, sometimes crawling from the mirror. In one moment, he woke and saw his own reflection smiling, but he wasn't. Morning came, but the sun didn't. The world outside was grey, colourless, trees wilted, birds silent. He fled the motel, back on the highway, and the man was everywhere now, on every billboard, in every reflection, in his dreams, in his thoughts. He tried to scream once, but no sound came out. He tried to crash the car, but the wheel wouldn't turn. He wasn't in control anymore. The man was. He passed a sign again. Same words, over and over. "The man on the highway knows your name." The radio came on without being touched. "There's no going back, Andrew." Then silence. Then the scream. But it didn't come from the radio. It came from the trunk. He hadn't opened the trunk in days. Now it rattled. Now it banged. As if something or someone was inside. Something he forgot. Or something that was never supposed to leave. The road never ended. No matter how far he drove. No towns, no exits. Just more highway, more signs. The man began appearing closer. Beside the road, then on the road, then in the back seat. Smiling, silent, still, and then... Andrew looked in the mirror and saw himself, standing behind him, grinning the same grin. The car was empty now, just rolling down the highway with no driver, no destination, just the man. Andrew no longer felt hunger, or thirst, or time. The car moved forward, but the world had stopped changing. No matter how far he drove, the scenery repeated itself. Trees, fog, decaying road signs. The odometer ticked endlessly, mocking him with meaningless numbers. The highway had consumed him. Somewhere along the way, Andrew forgot how long he'd been driving. Hours? Days? Weeks? Every exit vanished behind fog. Every attempt to stop the car failed. Every time he looked away from the mirror, the man drew closer. Now he no longer blinked, because every time he did, something changed. At first it was small, a change in the air vents, the hum of the radio, the smell of ash. Then the rearview mirror would tilt ever so slightly to show the man's shoulder or half his face. Then both eyes. Then his hand resting on the passenger seat headrest like he'd always been there. Andrew tried to crash the car again, but the car didn't obey. It had become something else. Not a machine, but a coffin with wheels. He passed a town, he thought, but it was empty. The buildings had no windows. The street lamps were made of bone. On a diner sign in rusted letters, "Welcome back, Andrew." He didn't remember being here before, but something in his gut told him he never left. The man didn't just know his name. He knew his past. He knew his guilt. He knew the secret Andrew buried 6 years ago. The one about the missing girl. The one he never told anyone. The one he swore died with her. Another sign. This one bleeding. "I was in the trunk, Andrew." His stomach turned to ice. He swerved onto the shoulder and popped the trunk for the first time. It was empty, except for a note. A single torn sheet of paper, stained with something black. 5 words, scrawled in a childlike hand. "You put me here first." Then the voice behind him. Not a scream, a whisper, a breath in his ear that wasn't his own. The same name, over and over. "Andrew!" Andrew started walking. He left the car behind, but the highway kept going. He walked until his feet bled, until the night turned over itself a dozen times, until he came upon a billboard so massive it blocked out the sky. On it was his own face, eyes hollow, skin cracked, mouth torn in a silent scream. Beneath the image, painted in red, "The highway ends where you begin." Somewhere far away, in another reality, a missing persons report was filed. Andrew Carver, age 32, last seen driving through Route 59. Vehicle never recovered. Family left behind. Case unsolved. But truckers say they see someone on that highway still, late at night, when the fog is thick and the stars disappear. A man driving endlessly in a rusted sedan, eyes blank, mouthing silent screams. Sometimes, when you pass him, you can see something else in the back seat. Something tall, something smiling, something that knows your name too.